Hello.
Hello.
Have you heard?
Heard what?
The new server restart in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Server Restart, the World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players gather to discuss the current state of the game as well as news and events and other topics related to it. My name is Jim. I'll be joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hello.
And this week, we're going to go ahead and talk about probably the biggest news that's come out since last week and Blizzard's new stance on multiboxing using third-party software. So, yeah, Bluehost, they announced that they're going to start cracking down on the use of third-party software to mirror inputs from one device to multiple instances of the game. Mm-hmm. So basically, that's going to put out of work, I guess. I don't know, work, but people that are massive farming instances, materials, and, you know, controlling auction house prices on certain servers, I guess. I don't know. I've never really been affected by it other than some world PvP stuff over in Najdatar with somebody with, like, you know, I don't even know how many it was, like 26 Death Knights and 4 Shamans. Just,
oh my gosh.
And they were all unholy, and it just wrecked everybody. Because that was the night we were doing like 6 hours of just back and forth world PvP between New Home and what we called New Home. Because we basically and we would just push them down the bridge and just take over, and we'd go sit inside their base, kill them as they zoned in for a little bit, then leave. And then
that was mean.
We didn't do it for a long time.
Yeah,
we just kind of did a little bit and, you know, kind of, you know, whipped our dick out and just kind of said ha 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 and then left and came back. And it was fun because you'd get the pods and you could bounce around.
The pushback was fun. So like when they would get a whole bunch of people, and then we'd have like that kind of tug of war between the two home bases. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
It's one of the few instances where Kristen was really into world PvP.
Oh yeah, I was a guardian druid, and I was the only one. I had found out the use of those pods, those deep whatever pods,
the coral buds. Or
yeah.
whatever.
And I was bouncing around. They couldn't kill me. It was so much fun. Like, I was just bouncing around everywhere, and they couldn't kill me, and they were so angry. And I would just
still kind of pops off over there too. Every so often.
Yeah. Usually, especially now that the server group is merged, you know, the alliance just kind of dominates the battle for Najdatar stuff, which makes it a little bit less fun. But
I think we're an alliance heavy
Probably.
server population, so
now we
frustrating. Yeah, that's frustrating. I wish they would have thought about that when they merged the servers and looked at what servers were, so they could balance it a little bit better. But
I don't think they should have started merging servers until after the pre-patch and the expansion launched to see where things were before they started doing that, because now we were on like a medium pop server group and now it's high all the time. But yeah, so multiboxing, basically they've finally come to the conclusion that it just kind of detracts from a lot of people's experience in the game, and I guess it's mainly just focused on people that are, again, using third-party software, which I'm pretty sure has always been against the terms of service in most instances. I know there's probably some instances where people with disabilities, because I'm pretty sure there's a guy that raids with his feet because he doesn't have hands. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm. Sort of.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he tanked like Mythic Nyalotha and all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he has, I think, some device that's he uses his feet to do the controls with or whatever. I think
Xbox, Microsoft came out with a controller for extreme accessibility.
Right, it's like that big giant one that's got like the big round touch pads and all that stuff on it. Yeah. It's got
spinning wheels and stuff like that on it.
I'm not sure if this is similar, but I mean, if he's playing on a Windows machine, he could probably be using that and adjust it But
well, I mean, like more so like accessibility for I mean amputees or whatever. I mean, pretty crazy.
But
crazy cool tech.
Yeah, it is, and it's good to see that kind of stuff, in the game. I guess they're still going to allow you to boot up multiple instances as long as, you're not splicing out or I guess diverting all your.
I think it's the key
software.
reproduction. You can't do that.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the input mirroring software.
Yeah. I think
which is very interesting because there is a lot of macroing type software that does that. So for them to be able to detect it going into the client, one might actually give away a little bit of their secret juice, because reading memory outside of its own process can be illegal.
Well, I mean,
invasion of privacy. So,
but that software doesn't input keystrokes into multiple processes, does it? Only like the current active process. So if you have a keyboard,
right?
That has
so you'd have to know, like you'd have to be able to. So that software is going to input it into another client process, right?
Right.
So whatever whatever tripwire that you have, it's got to know that it's not coming from whatever.
I mean, but do you think
keyboard hardware directly versus input from another application in memory?
Well, I mean, if they're even doing that, but if they have something on there that can detect detect that multiple instances are running on the same machine, coming from the same IP or MAC address or something like that, and can determine that the actions are the same. I mean, maybe they're doing something like that. I don't know.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I think that's because I think that's how they catch botters a lot of time too, is mapping their routines and over checking that against a lot of common
right
spots that they have. So because a lot of times back in the day, if you were botting, you went to a common spot that was one
right.
you could download.
There was the most efficient paths, and
not necessarily most efficient. It was just the ones that somebody created, and it was really popular, so people would download it, and then you would automatically get whacked on the hand for it.
Yeah.
Instead of that's why they always, if you use bots, which is bad, but if you ever did, it was always recommended that you create your own profiles and situations to make sure that you're not copying and falling into that trap. So.
Right. But yeah, so I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of pushback on that from people that do that. I know at times Kristen has been watching this guy that runs.
Oh, I watch a couple of them. They're so cool
to
watch. Yeah, I do watch Ritasaw.
That's crazy.
I enjoy him because he makes it a big production, right? Yeah. But I do also watch Prepared too, only because he plays really good music, which isn't really a thing anymore with Twitch doing their DMCA strikes and stuff. But he reminds me of somebody that I grew up with, and I don't know why, but I think he's around my age. From the things that he's said and stuff like that, I get the impression
29-ish.
Yeah, 29-ish.
For like the last X number.
Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I mean, women stop aging at 29.
Yeah,
it's
29.
That's it.
Fact. That's
mom's
the hard
29.
limit. Yes, I'm the same age as your mom.
Yeah, so are all my sisters now.
Yep.
It's weird.
Yep.
But speaking of the Twitch DMCA stuff, this is a complete, departure from anything related to World of Warcraft. But I think it's Henry Lee. He's the guitar player for Dragon Force, and he does live stream stuff where he watches stuff and he plays. He sits there with his guitar and he'll play stuff or whatever. Apparently, he got banned, probably for playing his own music too. Yeah, he is
ridiculous.
The lead, the guitar player from that band, and so he has been, I guess, streaming on YouTube now. I don't know if anything's come out about what happened on that or whatnot, if he got caught up with it. And he would tell people that, play Dragon Force, cover it, play it, on your instrument and whatnot on YouTube or whatever. We're good friends with the label. Ain't nothing gonna happen. We're not gonna issue any type of copyright strike stuff on that. which is pretty cool. But it's completely irrelevant to the topic at hand.
I typically didn't really have a problem with multi-boxers that didn't do things in the world like PvP and stuff like that, right? The ones who like go into dungeons and just farm stuff, I didn't really have too much of a problem with until I started thinking more about the impact on the economy with them doing that. And because I'm a druid, everybody knows you see all those farming druids.
Zenithid farms.
So yes, the infamous Zenithid farms before last expansion, it was the Starlight Rose ones. And although it was Death Knights for that one, rather than druids, which was
it groups of Death
funny.
Knights?
It was groups of Death Knights. I reported so many. Yeah, I think you had they were faster or something. I don't know.
Oh, mount speeds are faster.
Yeah. And that was probably why. But it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because everybody hates druids. And part of that is going around seeing them taking all those resources and, druid. I can't tell you. Every time I go into Nazjatar and I'm going around to farm for Zenithid, I get invited to these druid-only groups. And they're like, oh, we're doing the druid farm thing. And I'm like, dude, no. That is not okay. Like, So, I mean, I go off and I do my own thing and, whatever.
Yeah, speaking of...
Shunned by the druid community because I'm, not taking part in the
rape of our natural
exploitation
resources.
But anyway.
It's strip mining.
But I will say, though, I am looking forward to being able to be an herbalist again and actually being able to sell things for a decent amount of money instead of just, having all of this stupid.
When the market floods, it devalues the thing. So there's less incentive for you as an individual to try to compete.
Wait, you're talking in regards to like the
selling like stuff for botting multi-boxing.
What are they called?
Zenithid?
No, the things we were just talking about.
The multi-boxers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like you got me onto druids, and I'm like, what? Is druids? Are they changing finally? Are they finally
No.
Speaking of druids,
they don't need to change. There is a mount you can use.
Speaking of druids, it's the welcome back weekend right now.
Oh my god.
So anybody that has an account can play for free. They consider it a trial account or whatever, but I've been working on getting my brother back into the game. He hasn't played since like 2009, 2008, something like that. And, I built him, using some of my old stuff. I built him a PC that, pretty decent gaming PC or whatever. And, he's just been kind of waiting for the winter lull in work to get into it. And so I sent him a screenshot of the thing, when it popped up on the browser that it was the welcome back weekend. And he's like, that's funny. I was just, talking to my wife about, it's like, I'm going to need a hobby this winter kind of thing. So he was playing it a little bit today. And he's like, made a druid.
You're dead to me.
I'm telling you, man.
I don't care.
So many people are druids. Like, it's like half of my raid group is all druids now.
It's pretty much druid is the new paladin.
I'm like, what? I kind of wish. I mean, this sounds terrible, but I kind of wish druids sucked. So that way people would stop playing them as like the flavor of the month and go back to playing the flavor of the month and let me have my goddamn druid again.
Well, and we were actually talking about that too. About people that play the game and play or loyal to a class that they like, right? Versus people that
somebody that might level a bunch of them.
Yeah, like, somebody that has like, I don't know, 12 max level DKs plus some other ones floating around somewhere. I don't know. By the way, I did go back. This is to jump back to something we talked about either last week or the week before. I did go back and make a new DK that was one of the original races, and you still do start in the new Hearthglen or the Hearthglen area.
You start at 8, don't you?
No, I didn't pay attention to the level, but you still start in the old DK starting area. You don't just automatically come out So I wasn't sure if they got rid of that experience for Death Knights or not, but they didn't. So I would assume that the goal of that is to come out at level 10, like all the other DKs start. Or like allied races start at level 10, whereas before you would start at 55 and the goal was to leave there at 58. But if you had full heirloom gear and all that stuff with like the last shit, you could sit there and come out at like 65.
What?
Oh, I was in like mid 60s on most of my DKs that went through there when I was leveling them up. It was great.
That's crazy, man.
It was just the fact that you didn't have to worry about mailing yourself heirloom gear anymore, which you could do back then because it was account bound. You could, buy a piece
you
of
had to
armor.
go all the way down to that mailbox at the house, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's not too bad to get to. It's in like the first area, but you had to like buy the piece of gear and then mail it to your tune, as opposed to now where you just pull it out of the heirloom tab.
That's funny. I remember like trying to dig and find some heirlooms.
And you
back in
couldn't
the day.
delete a character if they had a piece of heirloom gear on it and all that shit.
I do still like the fact that you can still mail heirloom gear though, because it's very useful if you're going to mail something to one of your alts and you're worried that you have a different name, or like if you're
You want to make
sometimes
sure
you
it
mail
goes
right. Sometimes you mail things to somebody else inadvertently. It happens. So if you put one of those heirloom things in one of your alts, it won't go to somebody else. It'll,
That's actually pretty smart. I didn't even think about that. It's like insurance.
It's
that it only
insurance.
goes to your account.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nice.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm never going to do that.
I do it a lot because I mail
don't-
things to my alts all the time. So.
I don't send shit anywhere. I use...
Which is ridiculous because I'm the hoarder and I have like all my bag slots are filled.
Let me
You don't send anything to anybody.
Let me clarify. I use TSM.
Yeah.
Which is what, Trade Skill Manager or whatever. And I have it set up. I have groups for every expansion with all the materials and stuff like that. And I have rules set up for where they go. So if it's gear in a list of, certain gear, it'll either go to my disenchanter or my bank tune to put up on the auction. And there's auction rules and stuff, so I'll throw stuff up on there. But anything that's not current expansion stuff goes to my bank tune, and I just throw it up on the auction house.
I mean, so you just go to your mailbox and
you can you can select all the groups and hit mail, or mail selected groups.
Oh, so you mail stuff to them. It's just you don't do it individually.
Right. I don't have to worry about it because it's all pre-programmed to be it's rule based and it runs through all this stuff. So I do that, but I have it semi-automated so that I don't have to necessarily worry about it, which is nice because then everything I level that isn't one of my main characters that has the main trade skills on, I can just do mining and herbalism and then just send the mats off or whatever. You get XP for most of that stuff anyway. And then you can sell the mats for stuff. I am, though, starting to get Legion mats because blacksmithing now, you have the ability to make those relics of the past, which you can use to
What
up.
is that?
So they changed crafting. So now, like classic BC, whatever, certain recipes have an extra slot that you can add in a certain one of these relics, and that'll put it at a different item level. So you could make something that would be like for a level 50 character, but that's like a classic recipe. So something that would normally have like a lower item level cap and would just be shit, it'll upgrade it to be a different level. So you can make stuff for characters at different levels now. Not for, I guess, max level and all that stuff, but like for leveling and whatnot, you can make lower level items that are different level brackets.
Interesting.
It's in now. I don't know if you can buy you need, so to make the relics, I know you need like laystone ore and the other one from Legion, the green one, plus another material, which I don't think I've found or even looked for really. But you would then make this relic, and then you could go get the mats for that piece of gear. And certain pieces have a slot, certain ones don't, but you could make weapons or armor that are better because they have effects on them or something like that, and the effects would scale to be the level I think that you put the relic in at when you craft
Huh.
it. So, yeah, it's interesting. It bears some more research and looking into to see if it's even really viable, but it could potentially make the crafting classes
Is it okay?
more,
So I'm looking at alchemy right now.
I don't
and
know
there
if
is
I don't know if, go ahead.
There's a crafter's mark
Okay.
for under the Shadowlands stuff, and it says set the item level to 168 and the required level to 60. An
Interesting.
optional reagent to set the item level of the crafted piece of armor.
So look in the current level stuff that's not Shadowlands and see if there's some for other ones, because there should be some for other pieces of gear. I don't know if alchemy is necessarily the same. Like if you have a tune that's got like blacksmithing or something, that might be more easy to see, because it does show up as like current.
Yeah, I don't see. Which I'm on a guy right now that has alchemy, so I'm not sure.
If you're in the guild, you can go, I think, look at the recipes on somebody.
Yeah, this guy's not.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, it's a neat concept. I haven't really explored it yet to see what kind of effect it's going to really have. It might make, crafting professions more lucrative. There might be a market for, I don't know if
basically it's a Shadowlands gimmick for professions. Like,
well, I think it's just the evolution of professions, and it's just they've been working on it and it's just coming out with Shadowlands. I don't know if it's necessarily meant to be like the gimmick for Shadowlands. It might be something going forward to maybe give crafters some sort of potential market for stuff. Again, with leveling being as fast as it is, who knows if it's really gonna be lucrative or not. I don't know if twinks are still a thing as far as stopping your XP and battleground stuff, battleground brackets.
Have you seen some of the weird scaling going on at lower levels?
No.
Like DPS off the chart, off the chart scaling. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know what level it was, but there was somebody posted on Reddit. There was a hunter that was like doing 10 times the DPS that the rest of the dungeon was doing.
I mean,
I haven't seen anything that extreme, but I've seen like.
What level was the hunter?
I don't remember. I just know it was in a dungeon.
I don't know. I haven't really seen a lot of stuff like that. I haven't done a lot of dungeons to see that. I'm sure that there is some stuff that's still maybe not balanced correctly.
In reality, like if they're not max level, is it really such a bad thing? Like,
no, I mean, it sucks when you're going through a dungeon and you feel like you're not contributing to the dungeon. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? Well, if you're not contributing in a level
I don't
20
think I'd mind
dungeon,
that random person coming in and just lighting up everything.
Yeah,
for the
yeah. I mean, I guess if you're doing it for the first time and you really want the the experience of doing it, then maybe. But if you're doing it for the 300th time and you're like, I just want to get through this dungeon.
Yeah, but 300 is like the prime number. Like that's the primo dungeon spot, right?
I guess. I don't know.
I
don't do a lot of dungeons.
That's when you bloom.
I don't have a lot of patience for people.
You know what's funny?
What?
This pretty much describes how important multi-boxing is.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I mean,
it's just so secondary to everything that we do that.
Yeah.
I think I guess to go touch on it a little bit, the one thing that I kind of feel bad about for people is that they've invested in all this stuff, and then now with the swift hand of justice, it's
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
That's their own thing. I get that.
Right.
But,
I mean, I feel like it was always kind of a murky area
that's
anyway.
The thing is that they came out and even talked about it on the forums.
Yeah.
Back in like Burning Crusade, like it goes that far back, and it was just kind of known that they were kind of okay with it.
Yeah.
So what majorly has changed? Is it the power of PCs in general that
Honestly, I really think that it's the WoW token.
Well, sure. And I think before people were, like you just alluded to, were multi-boxing on one PC. Now, people can still do that if you pull up 3 or 4 things and you want to have other accounts with lower level characters and do a /follow and have your main one pull it through. You're limited by the resources of your machine to run X number of WoW clients.
Well, you could still do it on different ones, different computers too.
As long as you had a different keyboard for each one or a different switch to it and do a /follow. It's having multiple individual machines or, several sets of machines that are running one or more clients that you have software sending your keyboard input to all at once. That is where the issue is.
Right. But I mean, you could have like 3 computers or 5 computers and with things with keyboards and just, you could have follow macros set up and
right.
blah, blah, blah.
Well,
and
follow macros are different than having stuff that has the characters doing things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what's going to happen? This is what's going to happen. Multi-boxing is not going to go away.
No.
Nope. This is how it's going to survive, right? They can somehow detect third-party software. What they can't detect is third-party hardware. You get a machine that replicates physical key presses on other machines.
The fact that we don't have anybody that's done, like reading the screen and then creating input based on what it's detecting, like, obviously it's not worth it to do that much work, but having hardware or a custom keyboard that sends hardware input to the computer while reading the screen outside of the computer environment.
So you're basically saying having a screen capture device that interprets stuff on there and triggers like a player piano type thing, triggers a key press on a device,
or even a pass through that's reading the monitor data.
That would be really hard to do, I think.
You'd be surprised at how many people are invested in actually automating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sure, it could be done, but if you...
Or hell, even getting a picture at a very low frequency would probably be enough to translate and...
Well, yeah, I guess with machine learning now, you could feed it in, a bank of images.
I mean, doesn't Blizzard so they had that one add-on, that reading add-on that was basically like an
that
overlay.
Was drawing on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing though, where you're getting a screen capture, or you're getting a screen something on the...
That was, I think, injecting stuff into the game client on the screen.
What are you talking about?
There used to, in the add-ons, it used to tell you exactly where to move, and it would put arrows on the ground and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This is a long time ago. Was it Lich King?
Lich King, I think.
Yeah. So they had add-ons that would basically tell
Draw
you how to do
screen.
the mechanics. It would create images that would basically
move here.
And I don't know if that was injecting stuff into the image, like into the screen output, to to write its own data into it or whatever, or if it was an overlay. But
I thought it was an overlay. I don't know though. By the time I heard about it,
it was gone.
It was no, they were getting ready to. So I downloaded it just to see, but I never ended up using it because it was I couldn't make it work. Couldn't figure out how to make it work, and then it was gone. So I was well, okay.
But so
probably one of those things where they leave an API open and people can take advantage of it.
Mm.
Yeah, kind of like how people were using the Curse Client API to write their own the Curse Forge API, so they could write their own add-on managers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The WoW Up IO one was getting, I guess, cease and desist stuff from Overwolf or whatever because they were using.
Apparently, there's about 10 of them that they sent.
Add-on managers.
What? Oh yeah, they got sent stuff from Overwolf, basically saying you can't use this API. It's not a public API.
Oh.
Although it wasn't locked down.
It wasn't locked down, so they had access to it. Which I don't know. Twitch is still working, So I've still been using Twitch.
Till the 20th or something like that, right? Isn't that what?
No, Overwolf went live October 20th.
Oh.
Overwolf is live right now for add-on management.
Oh, I'm still using Twitch too.
Yeah, it hasn't gone away. Is it gonna? I don't know.
I wish that it wouldn't. I hate it when they do stuff like that and
Twitch didn't
Twitch
want.
doesn't own it
stuff.
anymore.
They
I know.
They didn't want CurseForge anymore.
I know. I hate that. Change is hard. I don't like it.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, multi-boxing is going away. Yay.
Well, I mean, it's not
Well,
as
okay.
it is now.
Yeah, but the automated
but-
gameplay, that's
Yeah.
in general, that's what kind of pissed me off
Yeah.
in the past was that, botters get kicked left and right, but then they put up with precisely the same thing,
Mm.
automating gameplay.
Right.
Because regardless of human input, it's still replicated. You're still one person doing multiple things. Like, that's automation, and bots are automation. So
Yeah. No,
the fact that wasn't done way before now is
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think Kristen had a point too. Is before they were paying for that sub, right?
Yeah. Now they're not.
And then in WAD, the token came out,
Mhm.
and so guaranteed that they were.
Oh, they're not paying for those subs
weren't
now.
Yeah. So
No.
now, whether or not that's a substantial loss of income for that,
well, you could probably guarantee that they're not paying for all those accounts that way.
Oh.
what do you mean
I'd be
with the
willing to bet
token?
I'm be willing to bet that if you're a multi-boxer, you are not paying for all of your accounts by farming, and if you are, you're probably like barely breaking even.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't buy tokens one way or the other. Obviously, if you're buying a token to pay for your WoW time, I mean, that's money that Blizzard already has. And then people buy tokens to sell to make gold. So, I mean, it's probably still lucrative. They probably weren't losing money. I don't know if this is maybe more part of Blizzard seeming to actually start listening to the player base and taking in some of their complaints and actually looking at them and making decisions based on, that kind of stuff, and people have been quite vocal all the time about multi-boxers.
That one day we just got hammered by that.
Oh, we made it on his
DK.
YouTube channel. It was great.
Yeah, it was horrible.
But it's like, and you have people come to think, people post on the forums, oh, multi-boxing, blah, blah, it's such a bitch, blah, all this shit. And then people come, it's like, well, it's not against the terms of service. And like people like start quoting the terms of service. And then people point to the Blizzard posts about it where they're like, they're okay with it. But it's really, like you said, it's really, it's murky waters. It's a gray area. And, I guess they finally decided to take a hardline stance to the third-party software stuff for multi-boxing, and I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's
encouraging to see them putting the health of the game over the bottom line, which is kind of what it feels like, Because
It'll be interesting to see how they implement it, though, because I imagine that they're going to. They've probably already done.
There's already people posting stuff on Reddit with the forum emails that they get with the warnings, because they're issuing warnings first.
Right. Which is
Well, what I'm
good.
saying is that they probably already did the analysis for the impact it's going to have on their
Right.
bottom line.
Right. Yeah.
To make sure that they're not. So I'd be willing to bet that they're not going to throw the ban hammer down to anyone, and if they do, it's going to be like short-term suspensions, like they did with botting. Some years ago they started just giving suspensions instead of hard bans.
Right. It'll probably be a cumulative punitive system. You'll get warnings. You'll start getting small bans on all your accounts, and eventually, if you continue with the behavior, it'll probably go up to a permanent ban on all those accounts. So
I do feel bad for anybody that has prepaid like a long term and now they're sitting in hot water because they don't refund you that money.
I mean,
and they're too big to fight.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't necessarily. I mean, if you did that with the thought behind it that this was not an issue, and they suddenly come out with it saying that it is an issue, you might. I mean,
you should have some foothold there,
Right.
Right, and maybe
but I'd
they
be
will.
willing to bet
Maybe
nobody try it.
Right.
well, I mean, it doesn't hurt to try it. Maybe people will, and maybe people will. Maybe Blizzard, maybe this is
Right. You could make an argument saying it was allowed all of this time, and there was no indication that it wasn't going to be allowed. So
right, and if the person comes out and says, "Yes, I did this," I had planned for this coming out, and I've put all this money into it, and now I can't do anything with it because I want to comply with your terms of service and all that stuff. I mean, maybe they could get something back. I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a more reasonable Blizzard. Maybe they'll be. Who knows?
Yeah, I hope
I
so.
doubt it.
I mean, I think it's a good thing. It's gonna hurt Blizzard's bottom line, so it seems like they're doing a good thing from their perspective as well. So, seems positive to me.
I'm just looking forward to being able to make some money on herbs.
I don't know. I never really cared for it.
Are you a pot dealer now?
Yes.
Yeah, the dank herb. I never really cared for the concept of it, to be honest. Multiboxing and botting just always just kind of stuck in my craw.
What the hell was that?
What? The laugh or the saying?
Oh, laugh.
I don't know.
I've heard the saying before. The laugh, that was weird.
It was kind of Brian's response. He was like, it was worth it.
What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, it's just that kind of stuff. It's just like I understand people wanting to do it. And as long as they're willing to accept the consequences if they get caught, okay. And the thing with multiboxing with me personally is that there were no consequences for it, and it was just all benefit for the person doing it and detriment to everybody else. In some situations, it did probably do some stuff with the economy, artificially inflate the amount of gold in the economy, which is going to drive stuff down. I'm not an economist, so I don't really know how all that stuff works. I don't pay that much attention to it. I just kind of
That's the thing too, is that especially from that perspective, like things that you do in the game, it's free to create resource. It's not like you expend one resource for another. So I would say that you can't really. I mean, I'm sure they got it, nailed down pretty tight as far as how it affects the economy and what they need to adjust things, but I don't think anybody normally could predict that for sure. Just because, you log in, you do something, you create it, right? Instead of, the resource that you're spending is not directly tied to that world. So
I don't know. In a way, it might be. I mean, if you think about it, certain things you do in the game are going to net you certain resources. And the resource that they're getting out of that is your time, right? So you log in, you have a plethora of things that you can do. So you could go mining, you could go herbing.
But the best monetary value you can put on any player's time is the price is the subscription divided by the, whatever chunk of time you want to measure. And in reality, everybody's time is worth different
right
from each other's.
I mean more so like in game, like I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like the economical impact in game, I'm sure it's so much far different from being able to measure like something in like a even a macro sized economy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's above my pay grade, so it's
interesting.
It is, and I don't, but it's not interesting enough for me to be like, oh, I should go read some economy books and study this stuff. You know, it's
No,
like,
not at all.
I mean, because people do. And it's just like, if you look at like EVE Online, economists study that game because the in-game economy in there is so, it's a good example of, I don't know if it's necessarily like real life economy, but like it's a legit economy, and like there's value and there's exchange rates, and it's just like it's actually studied by people, kind of like how the plague in World of Warcraft from that one dungeon spread in all like is it epidemiologist? Is that the term? That study viruses and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Studied how that spread in World of Warcraft to like gauge, impacts in real life and like real contagion spreading and all that stuff. There were articles that came up, at the beginning of all this COVID shit, where people were going back to that event in the game with that plague that was just constantly killing players, and they brought it back up to kind of look at like how it transmitted and like how, what it did to the players. People started avoiding areas and like how they kind of curtailed it and all that stuff. I mean, something in that game had a real life impact, and it's crazy that something like that can even happen. But, so it is interesting. Just not enough for me to spend time learning about it, I guess.
I wish the Scourge event would have happened for longer, so then we could see if there would have been a rise in Scourge cases again, like there are in the COVID cases again now.
Well, that thing wasn't part of the Scourge invasion. It was from a dungeon. It was a disease in one of the dungeons.
Oh, I thought it was the Wrath event, the Scourge event.
It was from Zul'Gurub.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
because it was the disease, and
from a Hakar or something like that.
It went on, the blood plague. That's what it was. It went on a hunter's pet.
Yeah.
And when they left the dungeon, it stayed on the pet.
Yeah.
And then started spreading, and it just didn't stop. And it's crazy. It's neat. It's cool, but I don't know. Fairly well, multi-boxers.
Well, I mean, multi-boxers, they can still, I mean, I will admit I have been tempted on occasion to see what it was like. But I am lazy, and it was way too much effing work for me.
Multi-boxing?
Yeah. Like, I think I made like another account, and I was like gonna like follow. Oh no. And that was complicated and way too much work. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna stay with my one character because this isn't worth it to me. The amount of having to get everything just right and have everything line up precisely to be able to have one thing, no. But the idea of being able to do dungeons with my own little party, like that. I like in Star Wars that you could do dungeons you had your little group of, companions that could go with you. I like that. The antisocial person in me likes the fact that I'm not reliant on other people, and I understand it's an MMO, and there should be other people in that world, and I do like seeing other people in that world, but sometimes I don't want to talk to them, and sometimes I don't want to play with them. Sometimes I just want to go out in the world and do shit by myself, or with a group of companions, of my own choosing that aren't talkative at all and will just stay there and be quiet, and I don't have to talk to them unless I feel like talking to myself. Like, I don't know.
I have a hard time finding or understanding why somebody would have 20 accounts running at once. I don't know where the enjoyment is in that,
I think it's to see if you can do it, and to see, you know what I mean? And to get around to, like, it's kind of like when we were talking about the other day, how some people get enjoyment out of big numbers. Me, like, I was like, hey, why do people always just go to flavor of the month classes? Why do people not have any class loyalty, right? People just switch around classes, oh, the new expansion is coming out and this class is going to be OP. Oh, let me go play that class instead of just staying with the classes that they like playing. Some people do that because they like the big numbers and that's what they enjoy. Well, some people like to do the multi-boxing thing because it's kind of like maybe a puzzle, that they're trying to, beat the game on their terms,
I don't know.
I mean, it's an MMO, so I mean, unless you're a mythic raider, I really feel like you're not beating the game.
I don't know. It's just, sure, getting it set up and running is a feat in and of itself, right? But once you do that, and then you continue doing it, it's just like, I just don't understand it. It doesn't resonate with me.
It kind of feels like you're not playing the game.
I mean, yeah, but you are, and but it's just like you're not playing it for fun at that point. It seems
more for efficiency.
I don't know. It's like it's become a job, or you have the people that are just doing it to just get into war mode and just go roll over everybody else.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And that's just a person with a small penis.
Yeah.
Overcompensating.
Yeah, I don't,
because they feel good about
hitting one person with 20 effing of the same spell and just nuking them into the ground. That is just I do not think that ever should have been allowed. I mean, that is ridiculous. You do not have a chance against those people.
Somebody in our guild we were talking to today, and apparently with the way things have changed, now you have people coming over to BFA content at level 10. So they're out in Zandalar or whatever, and if you're max level and you did the Servant of Nazal stuff and you have that toy that you can stab yourself with,
you can kill people.
You can kill your own faction.
Yeah.
So he was going around killing a bunch of Lobby Horde players.
Oh my god.
And it's just like,
I know who that was.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, I can get doing that a little bit, but I mean, picking on people leveling, it's just like,
yeah, sure,
you get the mentality, it's Red Dead, that kind of thing. It's like if it's the opposing faction, it doesn't matter, you kill it. And it's just like, sure, but when there's no contest, it's just like at that point, it's just like, why? Yeah. It's like when I was leveling my DKs, I'd get to Legion content, and I'd be in Azuna, right? That's the Tidestone area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Typically, when you would get to the point with the Ghost King, Falanath or whatever, I don't know, the guy that leads you over to the other area where the Tidestone is. That's where the portal comes in, and you'd have 120s there at the time. That's what it was, not 50. For everybody that's new, doesn't understand that. I don't know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. But like they would just be there and they'd just be like one-shotting you, and it's just like, well, yay for you.
Yeah.
I guess
that's
it's
frustrating.
Like, congratulations. It's like going out and kicking a puppy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like if you're into that kind of shit, or it's like going to the playground and going to the basketball court and like just bowling over like 10-year-olds and just like dunking on them, right? It's like, what's the freaking point? It almost feels bullyish. And if that's the reason, if that's one of the reasons why they're finally taking a stance on it is because that it is bullying, well, that's going to about wrap it up for us tonight. I can't even talk. So we went over
riggedy diggity doo.
Yeah, so we went over basically our thoughts on Blizzard's announcement.
Wow.
If I could enunciate.
You're having a hard time.
It is. It's probably the whiskey. Yeah, Blizzard's basically just cracking down on multi-boxing. So anyway, thanks everybody for listening to us, ramble on about shit.
Mm-hmm.
You can check us out over at our Facebook, facebook.com/server restart in, all one word. Send us a tweet at server_restart, or, wait for next week, next Monday for our next episode. Let us know if we're not on the podcast distributor of your choice. And, we'll see what we can do about that. And again, thanks everyone for listening. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.